All right, hi everybody. We're going to go over the first midterm problem here. I'm going to walk through all four. This is just the first video. Hopefully you guys didn't find this problem too challenging. This one should have been pretty straightforward. I was just, looking to test a couple skills, mainly relations and things like that, and some of the basics of SolidWorks. So this one, I'm just, the directions here, I said create the model using only one sketch. So I wanted to test there that you guys could kind of build things with some logic to them. So instead of making the whole outside border of this as one feature and then cutting the holes as another feature, you can do all of this with one sketch, and that's going to simplify your design trees. So that's kind of what I was testing there. I mentioned here the plate's 0.25 thick, it's in inches, it's symmetric. I wasn't clear here, but in class I explained it was symmetric about a vertical axis here, or vertical center line. And again, units are in inches. I said hint but not required, use relations to make symmetrical lines equal and then dimension the sketch. So you don't have to do that. I may not even do that here. I'm not really sure what approach I'm going to use to this, which is usually better. I can just kind of give you guys a free flow of how I'm thinking about doing these things. And so anyway, we'll walk through this right now. But you're definitely going to want to use some sort of symmetrical relation or equal relations or something to fully define all this. And I have some tricks to avoid actually using or creating new relations. Well, we'll see how we do this. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to SolidWorks here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we're here in SolidWorks. I'm going to start a new part file. So obviously we'll sketch it first. For this one, I didn't say what plane. Use your judgment. I'm going to go just based on how the drawing looks. I'm going to start on the front plane here. You really can start this anywhere you want as far as, what starts on the origin. But remember to start something on the origin or plan to dimension to the origin so that you're locked to this. A lot of issues I saw where people had their sketches floating out in space with nothing dimensioning them to the origin. And this was true on all four problems I saw this issue. So make sure that if you're underdefined in your sketch that you check that your sketch may be fully defined, but it's just moving around in space because it's not dimensioned in space to the origin, which will keep it from moving around. So let me just go ahead here. What I'm going to do actually to start is I'll go ahead and put a center line. We're going to do that vertical center line to begin with. That'll give me something to relate other parts of this sketch to. So next I'm going to draw the horizontal bottom and top of this. So what I'm going to do is this will be in line here. I'm going to draw it longer on the right side, and you'll see why here in a second. We'll put another line up top. Make sure these are horizontal lines. Make sure you have the relations there. Okay, then what I'm going to do, since we know it's symmetrical, I'm going to find the midpoint of this line. I'm going to select the midpoint. I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to select the center line. It's going to allow me to pull up relations here, and I'm going to make them coincident. So now we know this line, no matter how big or small it gets, it's going to stay centered. Okay, that's going to help us. It's going to help us make everything symmetrical. So then I'm going to go to the bottom line, same thing, find the midpoint. I'm actually going to select the origin here because, again, that'll make sure we're locked to the origin. And then I'm going to do a coincident relation over here on the left as well. So again, that'll keep this one centered. So now let's just start trying to make it look right. I'm going to drag this. We know the bottom line's bigger. We know the top line is smaller. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just getting the shape right now. Then we have a couple more lines to put in. So we need to do a vertical here and angle it up over here. And same thing on the other side. You could use a mirror if you want. There's not that many lines here, so I'm not gonna. It's simple enough to just draw the lines in this case. And then we need to start putting some other things in here. So we don't need to say these are symmetrical about the center line necessarily, because the midpoint already means they'll be the same distance away. We can say that these are equal though with a relation. That way we only have to dimension one of them. Symmetrical would work too, not really necessary since it's already going to have the right distance. Okay, so let's put in the circles here. So we know we have a big one in the middle. So if I just put the center on the center line, it'll stay in the middle. We get the height right in a minute. And then we know we have two circles here. So best way for these is we need them to be the same distance from the center line because they're symmetrical. We also know we need them to be the same diameter because in the drawing they're the same diameter obviously, but they're also again symmetrical. And we need them to have the same height. So that's a lot of relations or smart dimensions. So if we just go ahead and select both circles and the center line, we can say they're symmetrical, and that'll keep them the same size, eliminating one dimension we have to do. That'll make them the same distance from the center line, eliminating another dimension we have to do, and we know they're the same height from the bottom. So that'll save us a third dimension that we have to do. So really we can just dimension one of these now. So let's actually not do that yet though, because that'll affect the whole size of everything here. We've got everything drawn, so let's put in the biggest dimensions first. We know it's 4 inches wide. I like to do the bigger ones first. See how that's 11? That would have thrown everything off. So if we do the 4, the biggest dimension first, everything scales around that, and we won't see it distort as much. We know the top line is 1.25, and we know the overall height is 2.5. So that's just the rough outer dimensions here. Got it closer to size here now. We know this outside line is 1.75, and again, these are these vertical lines on either side are symmetrical, so you see the other one change now. We know the center of this circle is 1.25, sorry. And we know the height of these is 0.75, so let's go ahead and slip that in here. You'll see the other one on the other side adjust as well. And then we know that they're 0.75 from the wall. Oops, sorry, I already did that one. I meant the height here. Probably could have done that on the other side to match with these, but it'll work. Okay, so we've got those. We need to give the diameter of these. Again, I only need to do one. It's 0.5. And this one over here, the big one, is 1.25 diameter. That's another issue I saw, people mixing up diameter, not on this problem, but people mixing up a diameter or a radius dimension and making things half the size. That was an issue. I'll point that out. I think that's on the next problem. But you can see we're fully defined here now. We've got all our dimensions in, nothing can move. We're locked to the origin here in the middle. Can be not on this problem, but other problems. Remember to put if it makes sense, put your origin right in the middle. So now you know you have a plane running right down the middle of this part, which may be useful later on for a more complicated model. Okay, so that should be it. So now all we want to do here is go to the features tab, extrude it. In the problem description, I said it's 0.25 thick. So we'll give it that, blind extrude, 0.25 thick, click the check mark, and your problem is complete. We did it with one feature, one sketch. We didn't have to do the holes in another sketch. It can all be done in one. So anyway, hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, or during the next class, you can call me or whatever you'd like to do, and we can discuss this one. All righty. Thanks, guys.